go, here I go, here I go. Yeah, here I go, here I go.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to yet another episode of the Take Podcast. I'm your host, Jackson Burlison, of course. In today's episode, last night, the Nuggets and Celtics squared off in supposedly an NBA Finals preview. We'll kind of go into that game itself, but one thing I want to point out real quick. Why are players getting technical fouls for clapping? Last night, there were two occurrences with the Boston Celtics. The first one was with Jaylen Brown, and he literally was clapping, and then the ref teed him up after he scored a basket. I don't know what that was about. I don't know if Jaylen Brown said anything to the ref, but you shouldn't get a technical foul for clapping. And then Porzingis, at the end of the game, he was upset with a call, and he just clapped. And then, in frustration, the ref tees him up. You're kidding, right? You're actually kidding. I can't believe it. I can't believe what these referees are on. Like, you give a technical foul for the most obnoxious thing ever. They're just overdoing it at this point. Let these guys play basketball. Just let them play basketball. Celebrating and being frustrated is a part of the game. Let these guys have fun. Let these guys have fun. I honestly really don't get it. It just ruins the game for me. And I'm a Heat fan, guys, so I do not like the Boston Celtics. So for me to be on the Boston Celtics side in this situation, that's when you know something's up. Honestly, that's when you know something's up. But let's get into the game itself. So the Nuggets proved last night they're the team to beat in the Western Conference and in the NBA just in general. Jamal Murray and Jokic were cooking last night. And then one player I really do want to mention on the Nuggets is Peyton Watson. That dude literally went up for a block last night and hit his head on the backboard almost. Like, that man went flying, and then he landed on Jokic. Like, he nearly jumped over Jokic. Just an athletic monster. And then speaking of athletic monsters, Aaron Gordon brought out his 2016 slam dunk competition out of his bag. Like, he said, oh, it's the 2016 dunk contest. I'm dunking against Zach LaVine. Man literally had the nastiest reverse dunk I've seen in a long time. That was nasty. That was nasty. And then he also had another putback dunk literally it was like mid-air. The ball was bouncing off the rim, and he comes in, he goes, boom. It was like in the fourth quarter. That was insane. That was insane. Aaron Gordon, I think I want to say 4 or 5 of his points last night, 4 or 5 of his buckets, were dunks. And they were nasty dunks too. Like, he still got the bounce. He still has the bounce. I'm just like, dog. Aaron Gordon is different with his bunnies. But when it comes to the Celtics side, they had multiple opportunities to win that game last night. Drew Holiday, he clutched up in the fourth quarter. He hit 2 threes in a row that were tough shots, especially the second three he hit, which was a step back in the corner. Just drilled it. Put the Celtics down 2. That gave them the opportunity to win the game. And then the Celtics get the steal. Jason Tatum goes to transition, gives up the ball, but then he goes to the corner and is wide open for a 3 that would put the Celtics up 1 point. And he can't convert. And everyone's saying that Jason Tatum is the Green Mamba or he's Kobe or whatever. Like, just stop it. I don't want to hear this talk. Jason Tatum is a good player. He's arguably he's in the conversation to be a top 5 player in the league. In most people's eyes. I don't think he's a top 5 player in the league, but a lot of people look at him in that way. I get it. He's a superstar. But when it comes to clutch moments, he can't hit the shot. He can't do it. That situation right there was not the first time he's done that this season. We'll take it back to January, where Jason Tatum had an opportunity to tie it up against the Nuggets in Boston. Just a bad shot, kind of fade away, off balance, and he doesn't convert. Multiple chances the Celtics had last night, and they missed so many free throws last night. So many. And they weren't even shooting that well from the three-point line. Like, it wasn't a great performance by the Celtics, and they were still in the game. So a couple of people were saying, oh, that shows how good the Celtics are. But at the same time, when it comes to the playoffs, I expect the Celtics to do the exact same thing they just did in that game last night. Kristaps Porzingis, great player on the offensive side of the ball, but he cannot play defense. He cannot do it. When you got him in the post guarding Nikola Jokic, it's over. You literally saw last night Jokic just absolutely bully this man for a dunk, Shaq-like, and it's crazy to say that for Nikola Jokic, but that's exactly what he made Porzingis look like, an absolute baby. He put a bib and a diaper on this man and said, you go out of bounds, my friend. I'm getting this bucket. Even the last time the Nuggets played the Celtics, Jokic was having his way in the post against Porzingis. I'm not scared. If I'm a Heat fan, I'm not scared of the Celtics, bro. I'm not. Bam Adebayo guarding Porzingis? I love that matchup. That matchup is that's favorable for the Heat. Heat Nation, I know you can agree with that. And let's talk about my Heat real quickly. As I'm recording this, we play the Thunder tonight. The Oklahoma City Thunder are the number 2 seed in the West, excuse me. They're tied, or they were tied with the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves, we'll get into them a little bit later. But the Heat are a team I look at and say, okay, it doesn't really matter what they do in the regular season. I want to see what they do when it comes playoff time. Because last year, we were in the play-in, we lost our first play-in game, and then we made it all the way to the finals. We beat the Bucks in 5, we beat the Knicks, and then we beat the Celtics. If I'm a Heat fan, which I am, I'm not worried about the Celtics. I'm not worried about the Bucks. Definitely not worried about the Sixers. The Heat have the team to beat any team in the league. We have a squad. Now I'll say this. Duncan Robinson has made drastic improvements to his game. Drastic. Did you guys see that move against the Pistons the other night? Man went behind the back and then just went to the cup. Up and under layup. That's beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. He's not just a three-point shooter now. He can actually play defense, and he can actually put the ball on the floor and drive to the cup. That's what you need. It keeps defenses on edge when you can shoot the 3 ball and then also drive to the rim. Because they're always going to be guessing. Always going to be guessing. Duncan can pump fake, drive. Duncan can shoot the 3 ball whenever he wants. And then on the defensive side of the ball, which he used to be a liability on, he's now guarding up guys on a consistent basis. Now the Heat can actually play man-to-man instead of going zone when he is in the game specifically. Because in the past, when Duncan Robinson would come in, Eric Spoelstra would do his own defense. But now we can actually have confidence in him. And Yami Hakas Jr., sorry if I mispronounced your first name. It was funny because I just made a TikTok of him looking like John Wick because Kevin Harlan on the call last night against the Mavericks, he said he looked like John Wick, which was pretty funny. I thought that was hilarious. I've never really thought about that before, but he's a stud. He's an absolute stud. I mean, he's averaging 13 points a game this season. He's been a beast. He's been an absolute beast. He's giving us everything the Heat need. Everything. Driving to the lane, shooting the 3 ball, playing good defense. He's a good rebounding guard as well. He plays big for his size. I do love that about him. And he's a willing passer. And on the Heat, I will say this. Last season, we were struggling with ball movement. We were one of the worst offenses in the league. But this year, the ball movement has been insane. It's been so good. We're always swinging around the perimeter, getting Bam involved, who's been an absolute monster in the mid-range game, dude. If Bam Adebayo just had a 3-point shot, it'd be over. it'd be over. He'd be one of the best players in the NBA. He would be a top 5 player in the NBA if he had a 3-point shot. I firmly believe that. Like, I believe Bam Adebayo is at this point where I'm just waiting for him to take that next step to being a superstar, because he's already a great defensive player. He's already a great offensive player. His mid-range game is unmatched. He's got the strength, man. He's got everything in his bag he needs. He can bring up the ball whenever he needs to. A versatile big man. Very versatile guy. I love Bam Adebayo. We've got a lot of pieces. But when it comes to the game against the Mavericks last night, why are the Heat fouling in a situation where the shot clock is still existing and there's 30 seconds left? Why are we fouling when we're down 3 points? I don't get that. In that situation, you try to get the defensive stop. Now, if you don't, you live with it. But if you get the stop, you have a chance to win the game. You have a chance still. So I'm not sure why we would foul in that situation. Why would we do that? Because Terry Rozier got us in that position. He hit a ridiculously tough 3-point shot. He was hitting some tough shots last night. I love that pickup. I haven't really gotten to speak on Terry Rozier being on the Heat recently, but he is a guy we needed because we need more shot creators. We have to have them. Have to. Because Jimmy can create his own shot, yes, but he doesn't really show up until the postseason. Caleb Martin, he can create his own shot when he needs to. Tyler Hero, when he comes back from injury, he can definitely create his own shot. Bam, he can definitely create his own shot. We've got guys, but Terry Rozier is another guy that we needed to have. And I think that boosted our chances of hanging with a team like the Celtics, kind of tying this all back together. Now, Luka and Kyrie, that duo is pretty lethal. I'm not going to lie. Luka Doncic, oh my God. 30-point triple-double last night. I mean, are you kidding? Luka Doncic is easily a top 3 player in the NBA. This guy is so good at using his body to just score, get position. I mean, he's so smooth. Like, all these European players, bro. Every last one of these European players are so nice. When Luka's bucketing your team like that, yeah, it's going to be hard as a Heat fan to watch it. But it's greatness. We are witnessing greatness. And he does it every night. I mean, the man dropped 70 for crying out loud this year. 73, if I'm not mistaken. 72, 73. I don't remember the exact number, but he dropped 70 points. Easy 70, might I add. He only missed 8 shots. 8. That's efficient. I know it was against the Hawks, but still, for a guy to have 70 that efficient, it's impressive. It's impressive. And I don't know where the Mavericks really stack up in the West, because the West is so unbelievably stacked this season. It's hard to really know where the Mavericks are. I mean, they're in the play-in, okay, where you got Golden State, Lakers, and the Kings in there. The play-in in the West is tough. It is very difficult. But can they hang? Because they did pick up P.J. Washington. They still have Derek Lively, who has been an unbelievable rookie out of Duke. They have some pieces. Dante Exum's actually showing up. I remember when that man was drafted in the lottery. He was supposed to be so good. And he's a decent role player, yes, but Luka is a willing passer. He makes his team better. Luka and Jokic have to be the most fun players in the league to play with, because they always share the basketball. They're always trying to get their team involved first, and then they go and get theirs. That's what I love about these European players. Every last one of them don't care about themselves. They just care about their team. They want to get their team involved, because they know if they get their team involved, then that'll make them just 100 times better. And that's a proven fact. But I do want to touch on something really quickly. Speaking of the Western Conference, the Timberwolves are the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. Karl-Anthony Towns, he's having to have meniscus surgery. People are saying he may be able to return for the playoffs, but we'll see what happens. Apparently he had a torn meniscus, which is a pretty big deal. But for a guy like Karl-Anthony Towns, I don't think it is per se, because he's not really relying on his athleticism. He's really not that athletic of a player. He's kind of more perimeter oriented, shooting the basketball. He's not going to dunk it on you. But people are saying the Timberwolves are going to struggle to maintain their current pace without Karl-Anthony Towns. And I disagree. I think without Karl-Anthony Towns on the floor for the Timberwolves gives way more opportunity for Anthony Edwards to be the man, because Karl-Anthony Towns is still trying to be the man. But he's not. Okay? Anthony Edwards, bro. Like, this guy had 44 points against the Pacers last night, and he hit his head on the backboard for the game-winning block.
Look at the help that he takes, too.
This man, every time I watch him, he impresses me so much. Anthony Edwards hitting the backboard after a missed free throw. And then that's the game, bro. Like, he is so good. Anthony Edwards is literally, my opinion, I think Anthony Edwards needs to be in the MVP conversation a little bit more. Because they're talking about Jokic. They're talking about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I get it. Those two guys are amazing. But the number 1 team in the West is an Anthony Edwards-led team. He's got to be MVP, right? He has to be MVP. He has to be. He's been so dominant on both ends of the floor. It's not just offensively. It's defensively. Just like I just explained, the game-winning block. The guy is 6'5". 6'5". And he's making plays like that? I mean, dude, like, you're kidding, right? The Timberwolves haven't been relevant ever. They've never been a perennial powerhouse. And this man, out of the Georgia Bulldogs program, is coming in and just bringing that dog mentality. Shout out Ashton there. But this man is doing it. He reminds me so much of MJ. So much. He might be bouncier. Honestly, he might be bouncier. He's a better three-point shooter. He's a better shot blocker, just like I explained. He has to be in the MVP conversation. He has to be in that conversation. Now let's transition to another topic. Is it safe to say that Ben Simmons' career is over? I think it's safe to say that it is. 57 games he's played out of his last possible 190 games with back issues. Now, I don't know if it's a mental thing for him, because Ben Simmons really hasn't been the same player since he passed up that open layup against the Hawks in the playoffs. I'm sure you guys know what situation I'm talking about. It was a few years in the playoffs, in the semifinals. The Hawks made it to the conference finals because of that. He hasn't been the same guy. He just hasn't. And it's sad, because coming out of high school, coming out of LSU, Ben Simmons was regarded as the next LeBron James, the chosen one, the guy who's going to carry that torch. And he hasn't done it. He's almost invaluable. He almost brings no value to a team now, because he can't shoot at all, and he's just scared. He plays scared. He's thinking too much. He needs to just play his game. Ben Simmons is a distributor. He is a paint guy. Drive to the basket. He is a slasher. That is exactly what he needs to bring to the table. And he also is a great defender. But now, with all the mental stuff going on with him, I don't think he's ever going to recover. And they're saying that he has a nerve impingement in his back. I believe it, because when he got traded from Philly in that James Harden trade in 2022, bruh, like, the Nets knew that he had the back issue. It was on his physical. They did a physical on him and they didn't care. They did not care. They just wanted to get rid of James Harden at that point. And at the time, I thought the Nets were getting a steal. Ben Simmons is a good player. He can come in with a KD and Kyrie-like situation and ball. But that was not the case at all. Not the case. And Ben Simmons is still under contract for one more season. He's going to be making $40 million. 40. Like, oh my God, he's making the bag still. And he's not contributing at all. No contributions. He's just in street clothes dripping out. That's where he makes his money, is on the bench. And it's sad. It's so sad to see a player like that who I honestly had high hopes for. Everyone did. But this is going to go ahead and do it for today's episode of the Take Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We talked about a lot in this episode. So give me some comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. Who's making the finals? Who you got coming out of the West? Who you got coming out of the East? Thoughts on the rest of the games? Who's your MVP? Just give me some thoughts on that. But I'm your host, Jackson Burlison, of course. You guys have been listening to another episode of the Take Podcast. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace.
Talk to me, baby. Talk to me nice. I'm from another world, baby, yeah. Broadway paradise. They think I'm way too cold, cause I put my heart